salamat sa Diyos sa isa na namang napakabuting araw at sa pagkakataon para matuto. Muli, ako ang inyong teacher, si Teacher Royce, at hayaan nyo na gabayan kayo at tulungan upang gawin natin ang math ay maging madali lang. Simulan na natin! Ang pag-uusapan natin ngayong araw ay ang tungkol sa square roots of rational and irrational numbers. Ang focus natin ay ang mga sumusunod: square roots, principal roots, and two consecutive integers where the square root lies. Bago tayo dumiretso sa main topic, let me first introduce you to power. It is a combination of a base and an exponent, like this one. A raised to B, where A is the base and B is the exponent. The exponent B indicates the number of times the base A will be multiplied by itself. Ito ang halimbawa. Number 1, 4 raised to 2 or 4 squared. The base 4 will be multiplied by itself twice to obtain 16. 4 raised to 2 is equal to 4 times 4 equals 16. Another example, negative 2 raised to 3. The base negative 2 will be multiplied by itself 3 times. So we have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, and that is equal to negative 8. So, diretso tayo sa radical expression. It is an expression containing 3 parts: the index, radical sign, and radicand. Let's have this expression. This is read as nth root of A equals B. N is the index of the expression. It determines the number of times the root B will be multiplied itself to determine or to obtain the value of the radicand A. And that sign is the radical sign. Here is an example. Number 1, the cube root of 8. And that is equal to 2. So 2 will be multiplied by itself 3 times to get or to obtain the radicand 8. 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. Another example, we have the fourth root of 81, and that is equal to positive 3 and negative 3. The root positive 3 and negative 3 will be multiplied by itself 4 times to obtain the radicand 81. So let me show you. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. At the same time, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 is also 81. Ngayon, pumunta na tayo sa focus natin ngayong araw, the square root. So, in mathematics, a square root of a number x is a number y such that y raised to 2 or y squared is equal to x. In other words, a number y whose square is x. Square roots can be written using a radical symbol or a rational exponent, gaya ng napag-usapan o na-discuss natin kanina. the square root of x is equal to the radical sign x, whose index is 2. Remember, if the index is not indicated, it is automatically equivalent to 2. Or this is also equal to x raised to 1/2. Let's have the first example. The square root of 16. And its roots are 4 and -4. The roots 4 and -4 will be multiplied by itself twice or 2 times to obtain the radicand 16. So here it goes. 4 squared or 4 raised to 2 is equal to 4 times 4 equals 16. And at the same time, the quantity -4 raised to 2 or -4 squared is equal to -4 times -4, which is also equal to 16. Example number 2, the square root of 9. And the roots are 3 and -3. We need to multiply 3 and -3 by itself twice to get the radicand 9. 3 squared or 3 raised to 2 is equal to 3 times 3, which is 9. And the quantity -3 raised to 2 or -3 squared is -3 times -3, which is also equal to 9. Ngayon, nandito na tayo sa principal root. It is a complex number when raised to the power of n yields the radicand of its nth degree radical, and which has the greatest real part among all such numbers, and positive imaginary part in case of equality of the real parts. I want you to take a look at the table. So here are the nature of the principal roots. Ang panguna, if the radicand is a positive number, then the principal root is the positive nth root. Example, the square roots of 64 are 8 and -8. So in symbol, square root of 64 is equal to positive 8 and -8. So the principal root is positive 8. Remember, if the radicand is a positive number, and then the principal root is the positive nth root. 64 is a positive number, and the principal root is positive 8. The second one, if the index is odd and the radicand is negative, the principal root is the negative nth root. Example, the cube root of -128 is -4. In symbol, the cube root of -128. The index is odd, the radicand is a negative number. So the principal root is -4. We will get the negative nth root. And third, if the index is even and the radicand is negative, the principal root is not defined. Example, the 6th root of -64 is an imaginary number or not real. In symbol, the 6th root of -64 equals imaginary. The index is an even number and the radicand is a negative number. Then, principal root is not real or imaginary. The rational principal root. A principal root is a rational number if and only if the radicand is a perfect nth power of a number. Ito ang halimbawa. Number 1, the square root of 25. So the principal root of the square root of 25 is 5. Therefore, it is a rational principal root. Another, the square root of 64 over 9. The square root of 64 is 8 and negative 8. And the square root of 9 is 3 and negative 3. So we get the principal root of the square root of 64 and the square root of 9. So we have 8 over 3. Or in decimal, 2.66, repeating decimal. Third example, the cube root of 8, which is equal to 2. Dumiretso naman tayo sa irrational principal root. Ang sabi lang dito, a principal root is an irrational number if and only if the radicand is not a perfect nth power of a number. For example, the square root of 2. Since 2 is not a perfect square, its principal root is an irrational number. Second example, the square root of 3 over 5. Since 3 is not a perfect square, 5 is also not a perfect square, the principal root of the square root of 3 over 5 is an irrational principal root. And last example, number 3, the cube root of 11. 11 is not a perfect cube. Therefore, its principal root is also an irrational number. Ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin ang tungkol sa 2 consecutive integers where the square root lies. Ito ang unang example. Find the 2 consecutive integers in radical form where square root of 50 lies in between. Para sa solution, ang unang gagawin is to identify 2 consecutive perfect squares between the given square root of a number lies and express it in radical form. Ang mga perfect square numbers na kung saan nasa gitna ng mga ito ang square root of 50 ay ang mga numbers 49 and 64. After identifying the perfect square numbers, we will write this into radical form at isusulat sa ganitong format. The square root of 49 less than the square root of 50 and less than the square root of 64. Ang susunod natin gagawin is to extract the principal root of the 2 perfect squares. Unahin natin ang principal root of square root of 49, that is 7. And the principal root of square root of 64 is 8. So we will have 7 less than square root of 50 less than 8. And last, we will write the answer. square root of 50 lies between 7 and 8. Isa pang example. Find two consecutive integers in radical form where square root of 22 lies in between. For the solution, ang una ulit natin gagawin, identify two consecutive perfect squares between the given square root of a number lies and express it in radical form. So, ang dalawang number na perfect square na kung saan nasa pagitan ang 22 ay ang mga numbers 16 and 25. To express this in radical form, and we write this format: the square root of 16 less than the square root of 22 less than square root of 25. Then we extract the principal root of the two perfect squares. The principal root of the square root of 16 is 4, and the principal root of the square root of 25 is 5. So we have 4 less than the square root of 22 less than 5. And finally, we write the answer. The square root of 22 lies in between 4 and 5. So sana ay inyong naintindihan at naunawaan. Maraming salamat sa inyong panonood at pakikinig sa ating video. Nawa ay natulungan ko kayo at nagabayan upang mas maintindihan nyo ang inyong lesson. Gusto ko ring magpasalamat sa mga sumuporta sa ating YouTube channel at sa ating Facebook page. Shout out sa inyong lahat. Hindi ko kayo may isa-isa dahil sa dami. Pero taos puso akong nagpapasalamat sa inyo at sa inyong suporta. Hanggang sa muli, ako ang inyong teacher, si Teacher Royce. At magkita-kita tayo sa susunod na video. Maraming salamat. Paalam!